Right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Lit in English Season 4. And we are moving to the final week of Season 4. And thank you for joining us on this journey. And this week is a very, very special week because we are going very deep in the human structure. And yesterday we share how important it is to understand the human structure because we are living in human society, and in order to materialize our vision, our dream, our goals, we need people to be in the picture, because if the singer can sing the most beautiful song and nobody is there to appreciate it, then it would be meaningless. And similarly, you cannot have Amazon without the people. You cannot have Tesla without the people. Bill Gates once said that even though Microsoft is a very, very big company, only about 30 people who are responsible for operating it. And of course, he was talking about the people at the top of the company. There are thousands and thousands of employees all around the world as well. So that is the importance of uh, of the human structure. So yesterday we introduced more of a information set of the picture or the structure of the human structure that you can see on my share screen there. We at the very middle we have the essence, and in the essence, our essence is surrounded by the radiant energy, which also have the essential hearing, a sense of seeing, a sense of saying, and a sense of knowing. What it means is that we always hearing, we always seeing, we always saying, we are always knowing. It it is our innermost present, our innermost essence. And surrounding that, we have a mission, imagination, actions, and conscience. And those are a mission, for example, is when we take in the information. In imagination is exactly what it is when we imagine. And you know what? Scientists said that human are is the only creature or the only animal in the animal kingdom that can imagine, can live through space time in our mind. So the next one would be action, would be the act that we do based on the information that we receive, based on the imagination that we have. So what we do matter, and action here have a very broad meaning to many things that we do. And conscience is just our conscious of information. So that's surrounding the our essence. And also yesterday we went in briefly prosperity, beauty, fame, luxury, and rest. Those are the five elements that the business world always try to somewhat exploit um, their customer, because people have the desire to be prosper, people have the desire to be beautiful, people have the desire for fame, people have the desire for luxury and also rest. And if you can provide any of those five categories, you will be very, very, very successful, because that is the very desire of humanity. So today we are going to do something a little bit different. We are going to um, move on to the outer layer of the human emotion, and that will be greed, anger, delusion, arrogance, skeptic, evil, and bias. Yesterday we did go over a little bit of this cycle of the layer that I guess most people would be more familiar with. But there's a difference between the emotion greed by itself. So let me change my share screen, and we are going to today's topic. All right, perfect. I got my piece of paper here. And just like usual, I would like to invite you to get a piece of paper so you can draw alongside with me. All right. So for the outermost layer of the human emotion, we have 7. And this is different from the 7 deadly sins that many people might have heard of. But they, even though they have some similarity, but they are not. But let's just go ahead and write the word greed right up top here. Okay. And let's draw a line from the top down. And for this, the bottom will be the negative pole. And the top will be positive. And because we have negative and positive, the very center of it is balance. And so let's put the 0 there to representation of the balance. So greed is a type of emotion, and there are many emotions fall under this category of greed. So we have the greed word in the human structure, but if you can just help me think about 2 scenario. Okay, so one person is very greedy. He or she want everything to himself or herself. They don't want to share. They are always about me. So that is a greedy person. So let's go ahead and write the word greedy at the bottom here toward the negative sign. So let's write the word greedy. But on the other hand, a parent who love their children very much, who want the best for their children, they want the children to have the best food, the best education, the best opportunity. They want to give their children all that they can, the best thing out there. So instead of being greedy, the parent is now being generous. So GE, generous. So even though I only write down 2 words here, I only representing the 2 extreme. There's a variable between being greedy and being generous. And that's why you see me have the negative side at the bottom and the positive side at the top. And what we want to do is we will want to be more balanced. and understand that greedy and generous is just the two word of this spectrum. Okay, for the emotion greed. So there would be other word for it. And I would like to share with you that these are called emotional cousin, because even though they may have different meaning, but they are in the same group and they are called emotional cousin. And once again, a person who want everything for themselves, that person can be described as being greedy. But on the other spectrum of it, the parent who love their children very much can be described as being generous, because that person want things for other people, for people around them, rather than for themselves. Extremely, extremely important. Similarly, let's look at anger, which is the next emotion in the human structure. Let me see. How do I want to write this? Anger. And similar to greed, once we understand these emotional cousin, we realize that anger is just a larger group of emotional cousin. And for the negative side, anger can be expressed as being furious. Someone is extremely, extremely angry. So furious. But on the other spectrum of it, you know, instead of being furious, instead of being angry, a person can be glad. It is very important too. And the importance of this is because, the negative side is a representation of negative emotion. We don't want to be negative. We don't want to have negative emotion. What we want to lean more toward is positive emotion. If you can look back to the activation of the human brain, remember how um, the reptilian brain, when how it's evolved to the mammalian brain. The mammalian is more emotional. It know how to love, and when we learn how to lean more toward positive emotion, that is when we can activate the human brain. Therefore, it is extremely, extremely important for us to understand these emotional cousin and a different group of it. The next one, delusion. 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 Similarly, delusion, the negative part of it, can be explained as being foolish. But on the positive end, a person can be wise. What about arrogant? Let's write it down first. Arrogant. The negative end of being arrogant is, let's just use a simple word to understand, that is low self-esteem. Self-esteem. And of course, positive would be high self-esteem. What about skeptic? Someone being very skeptical. And again, as I this a larger group of these emotional cousins, skeptic. Skeptic. So skeptic, when it's negative, it can be a representation of doubting. You are doubting someone, questioning them, questioning the action or behavior. That's another way to look at it. But instead of doubting a person, we can be very trusting of them. What about evil? Sound very scary, but it is just a name of a group in the human emotion. So evil. On the low end of the spectrum, an evil person can be very vicious, but instead of being vicious to other, we can also be kind to other. And last but not least, we have bias. So this like being biased to for someone or something, so you don't give them a fair um, interpretation. So the negative of it is being biases. Biased. So let's say if you don't like someone or you're being biased about their race or the way they talk or where they come from, then you are being biased. But instead of that, you can be accepted. You can accept other people. You can accept their culture. And that is a very, very, very beautiful thing. Okay, this is extremely important. Firstly, it is important for us to to know about these emotional cousins and the negative spectrum and the positive spectrum of it, because in the activation of the human brain, we have learned that in order to activate the human brain, we need to have positive emotion. That is how the mammalian brain evolved from being a mammal to being a human. Because when information come in, we need to recognize it as a positive information so that it doesn't the brain doesn't kick back to the mammalian brain, which is fear, because all of these negative emotions, being greedy, being furious, being foolish, have low self-esteem, doubting, being vicious, being biases, all of this are negative emotion, and that will trigger the brain to went back to the reptilian brain. But if we can recognize our emotion if we can recognize how we feel and shift these negative emotional cousin to a more positive one. Okay, instead of being greedy, we can maybe be a little bit more generous. Instead of being furious, we can shift our perspective to being glad. Instead of being foolish, we will be aware of it, and we shift our perspective to being wise. Instead of feeling bad about ourselves, having low self-esteem, we can learn to appreciate ourselves, to feel good about ourselves, and have high self-esteem. Instead of doubting, learn to trust others, learn to have a little trust. Instead of being vicious, we can be kind to others. We can always be kinder. Instead of being biased, we can be accepted. So it is very, very beautiful to be aware of the way we feel and shift perspective. There's one there's one technique that I have learned from my teacher, Dr. Tao Ben Shahar. He shared that it is it can be hard in the beginning when we shift our emotion, when we shift our perspective, because obviously there are situation or there are relationship that the other person is just so salty that we just cannot have a positive feeling even if we try when we interact with them. But one way that we can still be in nice to that person, firstly, instead of trying to love him, if that doesn't work, we can always try to have compassion for that person. Or another technique is we can think of a person that we love, maybe our parent or our girlfriend, boyfriend, maybe even husband, wife, children, and we use that feeling. Um, we use that feeling of having full of love toward our loved one, and then we can use that emotion and we project it toward the person that we might not have a positive experience with. And that's one way to have the ability to lean toward positive emotion. But what if I tell you that everything that I have said just now in the past almost 30 minutes, it's just the beginning. It is just the very, very beginning of the activation of the human brain principle, because having positive emotion is only helping us maintain the mammalian brain moving toward the human brain. What we truly wanted to do is we want to be balanced, because if you are being too generous, okay, think of a person who always give out money, and that person might feel good at first, but the more that he or she do it or does it, somehow the energy level, because it is so high, it could not maintain there, and it will move lower to the spectrum for being greedy. Instead of wanting good thing for other, that person eventually had to be a little bit selfish, a little bit greedy for themselves, because they cannot just give all their time and extension attention to other people around them. They have to take care of themselves too. They have to rest, they have to sleep, they have to eat. So you cannot just be generous all the time. You have to be greedy sometimes. So there's a shift between positive and negative, and this happens constantly. And we have so many emotions throughout the day because of this. But when we simplify it down to 7, And if we were to simplify to the the most negative and the most positive, it is easier for us to understand. Okay, let's use another example. Instead of being furious when you angry, you can learn to be glad, appreciate the situation, right? So what I want you to get out of this is that yes, it is good to be positive, but it is even more important to not go into a negative. In fact, it is more, our goal is being balanced, being at this zero right here, because our teacher show us, share with us that being balanced is being able to have very, very high energy. Okay, so imagine if negative emotion drain your energy, you feel like you don't want to do anything when you have that negative emotion, that negative feeling. But when you have the uh, the positive emotion, and let's just look at this: being generous, being glad, being wise, have high self-esteem, trusting, kind, accepted. All of those are positive, but it is only high energy. Lucky for us, we learn that when we are balanced, we have very, very, very high energy. And this is critical because we are very, very powerful if we know how to utilize our potential. And if you don't believe me, you can look at a story like Mr. Roger Bannister, like Gandhi, like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and many, many other people out there. Mr. Roger Bannister, for example, he had this strong belief that he will run 1 mile under 4 minutes. It was unthinkable back in his day, but he did it because he was balanced. He didn't he didn't have any of the negative emotion. At the same time, he didn't have any positive emotion because he doesn't have to be generous to other. He doesn't have to be glad on. He doesn't care what other people think. He just know that it is possible to run 1 mile under 4 minutes, and he just do it. Very, very, very powerful, and he literally changed the perspective of the entire world. What about Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and all of the billionaire startup? Do you think they are positive, or do you think they are balanced? This is a very, very serious question and a very, very important one, because if you got just being positive, then there are going to be a group of people who doesn't agree with you, who would um, who would try to drag you down to being as negative as them. And it's fluctuated between being positive and being negative. It is extremely difficult to focus on materialize your dream, to materialize your goal, and understanding that for all of the successful people who have materialized their vision, what they have done is being balanced, not being negative, not being too positive. They are remaining balanced. And here's when I would like to invite you to the next page. For the next page here, we are going to explore the depth of our inner world and how we are connected to the cosmos itself. Okay. So we, thanks to scientists and researcher, we have a definition of vibrational energy. So let's just go ahead and write it down first, right in the middle. I would like you to invite you to write the word vibrational. V I vibrational energy. And when we discuss vibrational energy, there are three states of vibrational energy, and these are pretty recent too. In the past 100 years, we started to develop different vibrational energy, and we learned how there are different frequency in the universe, and the development of Wi-Fi signal or cell phone signal, even microwave, has a huge influence in our daily life. So for vibrational energy, we have low energy. Let's write it on the uh, bottom left here, right under the vibrational energy word. So we have low frequency, frequency. And then we have high frequency. Write the word here. High frequency. And on the bottom right, for the very end, let's write the word extremely high frequency. Extremely extremely high frequency. So when we discuss the emotional cousins, and we use the negative sign and the positive sign, we want to represent this as a type of energy, a state of electromagnetic vibration of our inner self. Because the way we feel inside, we can feel that electromagnetic vibration. And that is the very vibrational energy within us. And this is one of the reason why when we have like goosebumps and stuff, when the hair on our skin like all standing up, when we can feel the chill behind our neck, and many times we can even feel the energy, the vibrational energy running through our body. So there is a direct correlation of vibrational energy and the state of the electromagnetic vibration our inner self. So I know there's a lot of word here, but let's just go ahead and and write down this, the state of electromagnetic vibration of your inner self. So let's do that. Right underneath, we write the state of the electromagnetic electromagnetic vibration of your inner self. Inner self. And you know what? This is our journey of understanding your inner self, understanding why is it important to be positive, and we have to differentiate it from the negative here. Negative. Then we have positive. Positive. And on the bottom right, let's write the word balance. Balance. Be in balance. So the state of the electromagnetic vibration of your inner self can be negative. When we feeling bad or when we feeling depressed and all of that negative thing, it drags the emotional cousin down, and it would give the very negative electromagnetic vibration. But when we feel positive, the electromagnetic vibration of our inner self have a very high frequency of vibrational energy. We feel excited, we feel joy, we feel happiness. But thanks to our teacher, we learn that when we are balanced, it is not zero. When we are being balanced, we have extremely high frequency. And why is that? When we are balanced with the extremely high frequency, any emotion, any external emotion or any external impact will not change our inner state, neither the low frequency. So for example, when we are being balanced, an excited people run in and try to change your state of mind, telling you how excited they are to go to party, to go drinking, to go to a festival, but you know that you don't want to do that. You don't want to go to a party and get drunk or anything like that. Is you don't want to let that influence the way that you feel, the way that you do things. Or what if someone is who is negative, reach out to you and try to influence you, then you would know to, because you are being balanced and you have extremely high frequency, you don't let that affecting you. So the state of the electromagnetic vibration of your inner self is what would determine the vibrational energy. And the vibrational energy, when we are balanced, when we have extremely high frequency, is connecting us to something very interesting, something very, very powerful. And this is what make us human different from the animal. This is very, very, very unique in itself. And we was taught that when we are balanced, when we learn to be balanced, we will reach an extremely high frequency of vibrational energy, and we will be able to reach the human knowledge. Better yet, we will be able to reach the world knowledge. And even better, we would be able to reach cosmic knowledge. So have you ever heard of a famous story of Newton when he developed his gravitational theory? When he was just sitting under the apple tree, we were just contemplating. I'm saying contemplation, but what if at that very time he was very balanced, and the state of the electromagnetic frequency of him, what if it is very, very high, extremely high frequency? And when that apple fell, he instantly connect with the human knowledge, the world knowledge, even the cosmic knowledge, and he's figured it out. And that story is very similar to many, many story of famous people in the world, like Tesla, like like Elon Musk, and like many, many people. They don't know why, they don't tell you why that is, but through a balanced inner state of yourself, you can determine, you can shift the electromagnetic vibration of your inner self to be balanced, and you will reach an extremely high frequency of a vibrational energy. And that is when we connect with, let's call it the library of the cosmos, of the universe. And this is part of the reason that some people, they just seem to know, they just seem to know information that other people might not know. And strangely, this is part of the reason many many people was able to come with invention. They can have idea, they can materialize the idea to what we have in the world today. And there's a very, very famous quote that I have learned. The quote said that everything that exists in our world were created twice, once in the mind and once in reality. So what he meant is that the whatever exists in the world right now, it first has to exist in the mind, and then from that idea, that person execute that idea and make it a reality in the world. Amazon, for example, Jeff Bezos had an idea of Amazon and he executed it. Elon Musk, for example, he had the idea of electric car for the longest time, but he needed time for that to materialize, but it's always existed in his mind that we need electric car. We need to go explore space. So all of this knowledge, it was already existed, but through the right vibrational energy, we would be able to connect to that library of knowledge, and having a clear understanding of it, we would be able to consciously connect it to the knowledge. And this is not just me saying this. Plato, one of the most respectable Greek philosopher, also said it. He said that everything that we learn they are not new. We are just relearning what we have already known. So different culture, different thinkers had different way of describing this state of mind, because some of them, they just seem to know, they just seem to be able to ask the right question, to come up with the right answer that they are seeking for. But those answer, the information, they have to come from somewhere. And this is extremely, extremely powerful. And this is one of the utility that we can apply and learn from the human structure. And this information is so extremely powerful that I would like to stop today's presentation right here, because this is the information that you don't have to understand. These are the information that you should just, you know what, I heard of this, and when the right time come, I will understand this. But this piece of information here is extremely, extremely powerful. And this is the entirety of our journey, understanding our inner self, materialize happiness, peace, amiable, whatever word that you want to use. But what we do is that we will reach that balanced state of mind where happiness can exist, where peace can exist, where that connection to the cosmos will exist. And it is a beautiful thing. Many people are already there, and we are going on this journey to to find it. And I would like to extend my thanks to everyone. I appreciate you for joining me on this journey, and I will see you again tomorrow. And remember, this week is the last week of Lit season 4, Lit in English season 4. And I have some very excited new project that I will make an announcement soon. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, bye-bye, everyone.